the storm blew down a bunch of branches. These are the needles of a Douglas fir up close. You can see that they're kind of rounded on the tips. They're not like super sharp. They got white stripes down them, and they kind of go in all different directions. And then the base of the leaf attaches to the stem individually, not in sheaths. And they have what looks like little suction cups. Kind of cool looking. Douglas fir. Oh, here's the top. Ooh. Pretty. Here, I guess here's the bottom. Those white stripes are the mouths of the leaves so that they can breathe air. And then I guess here's the top with the green, and then that captures the sunlight to make energy. Very cool. Hello. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I wanted to share a little bit about Doobie today, at the beginning at least. So Doobie is my friend. We've been friends for 7 years now. 7.5 years. And she's Coton de Tuliar, which is a breed of dog that I guess is similar to a Bichon. But Coton de Tuliar is named after a town in Madagascar. And coton, I guess, means like cotton, because she kind of looks like cotton. And her ancestors were on a shipwrecked ship that wrecked off the coast of Madagascar. And her ancestors swam ashore onto the Madagascar island. And so that's how she's alive today. Her ancestors swam ashore amidst the shipwreck. That's pretty cool. I think her ancestors used to live indoors and catch rodents. And Doobie really likes chasing after things that are about that size, like squirrels, or we haven't really seen mice around, but I bet if we did, she would really be interested in chasing mice. Well, first of all, her name is actually Baby, but for the YouTube channel, I'm Gooby and she's Doobie, because my wife calls us Gooby and Doobie. So that's how our YouTube names came about, but her real name is Baby, because she's a baby. A very sleepy baby. She has eyelashes. You can see her eyelashes. And she has eyebrows too. Her eyes are a deep, deep, deep brown. Like really deep brown. It's sometimes hard to see the color of her eyes because they're so dark that they look just like black circles, but they're actually not circles. They're kind of like slightly all like a very round almond shape, sort of. But it's hard to see unless she opens her eyes real big, which she's sleepy right now, so that's not gonna happen. And she's got a really cute nose. Baby 7 years old. Here's her toes, or her paws. Well, she's 7 years old now, which in doggy years, she's actually 7.5. So in doggy years, she's like a 50-some-year-old woman. So I'm friends with a 50-some-year-old woman. I'm really grateful to be friends with her. A couple interesting things about Doobie is that she sleeps most of the day like this, and then around dusk or early evening, then she gets into her hunting predator wolf mode, and she chews the heck out of this donut thing and rips it like this, like she's ripping flesh off of some animal body. Kind of scary, actually. But she likes to play around that time, and then she eats her kibble. But she also likes to eat some of the foods that we eat. Her favorite, I think, is sweet potatoes. And then she also likes some animal foods. Like rarely if we have beef, or some fish or something, which is pretty rare in this house, but she really likes that. Special treat for her. But mostly in this house, her favorite is sweet potato and some beans. She likes beans a lot, and rice, and she likes cabbage and cauliflower too. But a couple other interesting things. She can recognize herself in the mirror, and she can recognize me in the mirror too. And I can do like a signal for a trick that she can get like a treat for, and then she can see me in the mirror, and then she'll know that that's me, and will come to me to do the trick so that she can get a treat. So I thought that's pretty cool, because I didn't know dogs can recognize themselves in the mirror. And when she wants to hide, like if I'm going out to like go work out or go to the grocery store or something, and she knows she has to go to the crate, but usually she just goes to the crate and chills there. But if she doesn't want me to go, then she'll run and she'll find something that's really white and hide in there and look away, so that only her white fur is showing and her black nose and black eyes aren't showing. So somehow she knows that she's got white color fur, and she knows that if she hides amongst something that's white, like our couch or one of our rooms has white blanket, she'll go hide on the blanket or on the couch and then look away so that her eyes and nose aren't showing. And then it's really cute, because then she'll like look back over her shoulder to see if I found her or not. So I'm really grateful to live with Doobie. She's very funny too. She has lots of vocal sounds, and she communicates with us what she wants. Like if she's thirsty and I forgot to fill her water bowl, she'll come up to me and look at my water, and then look at me, and then look back at her water, and then look at me, until I understand that she wants water. But I think right now I am disturbing her sleep, so we're gonna let her continue her beauty nap. Yeah. She's a precious animal. Right. Well, just getting things set up here. We had friends over for Thanksgiving last night, and we had a lot of food. This was left over from last night. It's some kind of seltzer water with lemon and ginger juice. So I'm gonna have this. No, it's literally just carbonated water with some lemon juice and ginger juice. No added sugars. Well, it's pretty good. Although I usually just like drinking water, but this is a nice treat. And I got a pear. I already ate some leftovers, so we had a lot of yummy food yesterday. We kind of did a Korean mashup of Thanksgiving. So we had Korean food, like some kimchi pancakes and japchae, which is like a potato noodle with a bunch of different kind of veggies in them, and I had like a mushroom stir fry to eat with tacos, but my wife and the other guests had marinated beef bulgogi tacos, because of the people that were here yesterday, I'm the only one that tries to eat mostly vegan. I'm not completely vegan, because I made the dessert, and it had like pumpkin pie, and it had some dairy and eggs in there. Yeah, dairy and eggs. But for the most part, I try not to eat animal foods because I think animals have feelings like we do. They're sentient. I know Doobie has feelings, and she, I love her a lot, and she, I don't think that other animals are any different than you, me, or Doobie. So like the chickens that are growing, that are being raised and living in these farms, I think they got a pretty tough life. Yeah, especially the chickens. Probably the pigs too. Maybe the cows have it a little bit better. I'm not sure. Maybe not the dairy cows, but maybe the cows that go graze in the fields. Maybe they have a little bit better. Not sure. But the chickens, like I don't think I think they have a really tough life. And I've seen videos of chicken farms, and they get so fat they can't even like move. Well, I don't eat animal foods much, but I really don't eat any chicken because it makes me feel really bad when I eat it. Not because of what I'm talking about, the ethical reasons. I'm talking about it literally makes me feel not good for the next like day. So I don't eat it. And beef also does that too, but to a way lesser extent than chicken for some reason. And so yeah, I wonder if it's like you feel what the animal was feeling when they were alive. And I wonder if that happens with plants too. When you eat the plant, you can also feel what they were feeling. Buddhists have, Buddhists have some kind of concept of karma, where what you eat, you take on that life form's karma. I don't know if I believe that, but I definitely feel like when you eat another life form, you take on some of their feelings that they had when they were alive. That might be a bunch of woo-woo, hocus-pocus stuff, but I feel like that there's something to that. It could be maybe explained in like hormones and stuff, but I don't know. One of my friends yesterday told me a really interesting story. It was about his doggie that he had when he was younger. I wanted to tell you this story because I find it very interesting. This pear is delicious. And this is a 5-a-day episode. So if you can get 5 servings of vegetables and fruit every day, that helps your body stay healthy because it helps your microbiome, which is the bacteria in your gut, get the fiber it needs, because the good bacteria in your gut, they eat fiber. And then they make chemicals that our body needs that we can't make on our own. We rely on those good bacteria. And that helps your immune system stay strong and fix things and fight off infections and stuff. So 5 a day, minimum. And this is 1 serving of fruit, but fruit and vegetables. So the story of my friend and his doggie when he was younger. So he had a doggie that they were really attached, and he went off to college, but the doggie stayed at home. And somehow, the doggie always knew when my friend was coming home, even if my friend didn't tell his parents that he was coming home. Even if it was in the middle of the night, he decided to just come home from college and drive home. The doggie would know and would sit at the front door. And it was so consistent that my friend's parents would know when my friend was coming home, even if he never even told anybody. They would call him as he was driving home and say, "So, when are you going to be here?" Because his doggie knew that he was coming home and would sit at the front door. Now, I had read a book where someone was describing research that people had done showing that dogs know when their owners are leaving work. And I find that just fascinating. Wow. Now, at first when I heard that story, I found it a little incredulous. So I brought up that story with my friends at our Friendsgiving dinner yesterday. And my friend told me his story about his dog, and it blew my mind. His story corroborates the other story. So how did his dog know he was coming home? It's not like the doggie could check the doggie iPhone and click the app and say, "Where's my owner?" The doggie just knew. How does that happen? But Yeah, I think it happens with people too. For instance, there's many times in life when I would be thinking of somebody, someone just like popped into my mind, and then they would text me or call me like shortly afterwards or in the day afterwards. And someone like I hadn't even thought of for like years. And I'm sure that's happened to a lot of other people because I've heard other people talk about it. But how does that happen? I think we're more connected to each other than we like to think we are. I think we don't understand how connected we are to everything. Not only other humans, but other animals, insects, birds, trees, plants, maybe even inanimate objects like rocks and mountains and streams and clouds and the earth and stars. Maybe everything is connected and you can feel it. Maybe humans just somehow numb themselves to this sense. But it's still there with everybody, I think. But you can maybe just ignore it. Think about that salmon that are born in a particular river and then they swim downstream. They go to the ocean and they live all their life out in the ocean, and then once they're ready to die, they come back and they swim up the exact same stream that they were born, and then they spawn, they have sex, and then they lay eggs, and then they die. They know how to get all the way back to the same stream that they were born at. And then of course there's birds that like travel like from Alaska all the way down here, or from Mexico all the way up here and then back down every year. And whales that migrate from the same kind of path. It's incredible. I wonder if those animals are more connected to this consciousness that's like everywhere. And somehow humans have lost touch with, to our own detriment, and really the detriment of all the other living things on this earth. So I wonder how you get back in touch with that. Cue all the religious comments. I don't know why my channel has like ridiculous amounts of religious comments. Maybe because I talk about things like this. I mean, I think that religion can sometimes be a hindrance to these things. Sometimes it can help, but oftentimes I think it's a hindrance to actually fostering your spiritual self. But I don't remove religious comments from my YouTube channel because I think it helps some people. so I don't remove them. The only comments I remove are people trying to scam other people. Or if someone is just downright like hateful, which is not very common on this channel, thank goodness. But I don't remove religious comments, but there's a lot. Oh, this pear is really good. Oh my gosh. Well, let's see here. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about today, beyond what I already talked about. And they're kind of like not really related. Well, I guess they are kind of related. But I'm gonna get another pair. All right, so the 3 topics I wanted to talk about beyond Doobie and the doggies knowing about their owners. The other 3 topics are aliens and Project 2025 and acquiring a book of wisdom. How to talk about these 3 things? Well, I guess I can sort of start somewhere. When I was a surgeon, and I did mostly spine surgeries, but occasionally I would do a brain tumor surgery. And sometimes the brain tumor surgery was just so daunting. And like I would have a game plan, and then I would get into starting the surgery, and then I'd look at the tumor, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna detach this from the brain surface without hurting the brain? And you just gotta start somewhere. Start wherever it looks the easiest. And then when you get stuck, then move to somewhere else that looks easier, and then work on that. And then when you get stuck, move to somewhere else. And and then eventually the tumor is detached from the rest of the brain, and then you can remove it. So just start somewhere. I've been thinking about, the last couple of weeks I've been making videos about collapse and accepting that civilization will collapse at some point because it is unsustainable. It leads to deforestation, which ends up killing all the wildlife, and it causes pollution and changes our climate, and then we can't even grow the foods in a regular cycle anymore, and it causes overpopulation, meaning that there's too many people for the land base that we have, for what the land can provide. It doesn't mean that we're crowded shoulder to shoulder. That's not what I mean by overpopulation. We have overshot the carrying capacity of the land. And that's just what happens with civilization and agriculture. And I've been coming to terms with that. And for the last 10 years, I've been trying to think of how to fight that and try to stop it. But I've come to the conclusion that you really can't stop this because people don't want it to stop. And you can't change people's minds about this, because the alternative is that people die. Lots of people die. But the ironic thing is that lots of people will die anyways, because this is not a self-sustaining process. Right now we have so many people alive because of fossil fuels, but fossil fuels are finite. There are no more fossil fuels being made, partly because of fungi. Fungi decompose trees and leaves and plant matter and plankton and other animal life forms. They get decomposed, which before fungi were widespread, the plant matter would get buried underground and turn into oil and coal, and make gas, natural gas. But there isn't any more being made because fungi decompose the plant matter and the animal matter. So we are burning through something that doesn't replenish itself, and that means that this way of life will come to an end. Maybe in my lifetime, but definitely within my niece and nephew's lifetime. And that's not to mean that humans would go extinct. I don't think they would go extinct. But there's, I think, going to be way less than 8 billion humans. Now, I might be wrong, but looking at all the scientific evidence, I've come to that conclusion. And a lot of people don't believe scientists, which they say that scientists are out on an agenda to control people. And I was like, well, really, why do you think scientists want to control people? These are uber nerds sitting in like a research facility on top of a mountain, or like out on a glacier. These aren't people that are wanting to have like multi-million-dollar mansions in Beverly Hills or something. These are people roughing it out on the top of a mountain, getting paid not very much to figure out these answers and then to share them with people. So like this conspiracy theory about scientists doesn't hold much water to me. Science can be misinterpreted, the data can be misinterpreted. So that is something that it could be concerning, but the vast majority of evidence points in the direction that I'm talking about. So, and there's definitely people that want to obscure that truth, like fossil fuel companies. They don't want people to know. I don't think government wants people to realize how screwed we all are. Because if everyone realizes how screwed we all are, they're not going to keep participating in the system, and the system starts to break down. So I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, the Pentagon definitely knows about the dangers of climate change and the ending of fossil fuels, because they are making changes to like where the bases are located and making contingency plans. So clearly the Pentagon, people in the Pentagon know, because they're in charge of national security. And so the Pentagon knows, but politicians deny that things are happening, or some of them do at least. And they keep pushing disinformation to try to confuse people. Politicians are paid for by rich corporations, which energy corporations are definitely one of those forces. So I don't think the scientists are trying to control people. I think politicians and their financial backers, their corporations, are trying to control people, trying to convince people that the scientists are not right. And I think that there is actually a decent reason to try to do that, because if people realized how screwed we are, they're not going to slave away at their computer desk job for 40 years paying off a 30-year mortgage on a house. Yeah, the system starts to break down. Well, what does this have to do with the three topics? Aliens, Project 2025, and a Book of Wisdom. Well, now that I've been thinking that it's really impossible to avoid this problem, because number one, people don't want to address it, but number two, addressing it means that a lot of people die. I've been thinking about how to spend my time. Instead of trying to fight something that is, I've concluded is unstoppable. In fact, it's accelerating with this incoming administration, government of the United States. This whole process is going to accelerate even more. I mean, it was already accelerating with the last administration, but this one is accelerating even more. There's a term called accelerationism. How do I want to live my life? Well, I've been trying to find what I want to do with my life. But before we get there, this goes to the aliens part. One thing that I'm interested in is these claims of contacting aliens contacting us. And spotting these like Tic Tac UFOs or UAPs. There's two different names for the same thing. UAP is unidentified aerial phenomena, I believe. UFO is unidentified flying object. That's kind of older term. But the reason why I was interested in that is because early on I was like hopeful that, oh man, if there really are aliens from a different planet or different time, maybe they can help us. Because if they're craft that seemingly have anti-gravity engines or something, if they have that technology, then we could continue civilization without burning a bunch of fossil fuels. The fossil fuels become too expensive to extract from the ground. That term is called peak oil. And we already passed conventional peak oil. So conventional peak oil means like just regular oil pumped out of the ground. But we developed a technique of fracturing shale rock that had layers of oil, but locked in layers of rock. And you use water to fracture through the rock, and then you can suck out the oil. So because people figure that out, temporarily this decline in oil production has been reversed, and we're making a lot of oil from fracking oil. So while conventional oil has peaked already and is on the decline, meaning that we are running out of easily accessible and easily pumped out conventional oil, fractured oil and tar sands in Canada are kind of helping us still have some oil. But that is also looking like it's starting to reach its peak too. So there's a time there's a timer that's been set for how long this way of life can keep going. But yeah, I was thinking that if aliens exist, and there are UFOs, craft that can levitate and potentially travel at immense speed without seemingly any propulsion system external, that means that they have some kind of anti-gravity drive. Then we could solve our energy problems. If we could get a hold of one of those things and reverse engineer it, or if the aliens were kind enough to give it to us. Now, that was just kind of an idea in the back of my mind, and other people thought about these things too. But the more I looked into it, the more I think that these things that we see are not actually intergalactic travelers, but kind of like, I don't know if they're like interdimensional beings or just like an extension of our consciousness. You know, we were just talking about how a doggy's consciousness is connected to their owner's consciousness, and somehow there's communication between the two without any logical connection that we can make by science. Like my friend's doggy that knew that he was coming home, even though there's no rational scientific way for the doggy to know that my friend was coming home, but the doggy would know. I think that there's some kind of connection in our consciousness with maybe other beings or something. I don't know what they are. Maybe they're us, like part of our mind, our soul, that makes this external creation in this reality. Not quite sure. But I don't think that they are explorers from another solar system. Reason being, when you hear all these stories, and a lot of this is informed by reading Jacques Vallée, Jacque, last name Vallee. He's a French statistician. No, data scientist. He's an information data specialist. But he ended up taking up an interest in interviewing people that have encountered aliens or UFOs or UAPs, and reading about prior accounts from centuries ago and even earlier. And what's very fascinating is that in these encounters, there is a similarity between these encounters across time periods. It's always that these beings, they come in usually some kind of light or rounded object, can even be on the ground, and they usually are shorter, and they seem to have technology that is just beyond the technology of the time period whenever a human witnesses these. And they seem to have the ability to have things that are very valuable to that culture at that time. Even sometimes they carry a little stick, or an object that's like a stick. And so there's a similarity between aliens and elves and fairies, and Koreans have a version of an elf that's kind of like a goblin. It's called a Dokkaebi. And they actually have very similar aspects to UFOs. But even within American culture, if you go back to 1800s, people saw airships that looked like big zeppelins, big balloon ships, but covered in like a bunch of steam and metalworks, and then the occupants looked human, but they said very strange things, and their craft looked like similar to technology of the time, but slightly more advanced. Fast forward to the 60s, you see flying saucers with windows. And then fast forward to now, people see orbs of light, or tic-tacs that have no flight control surfaces and that seem to navigate and move at hypersonic speeds from standing still. Go back to elves. Elves run around a magic dome. That's a earthen dome, and they run around in a circle, and that's how they can change time. An earthen dome is like a flying saucer that's landed on the ground. And leprechauns, they have gold at the end of the rainbow. Elves also seem to have the ability to materialize gold. They have something that's valuable that's seen as valuable at that time. And nowadays, people think that aliens and UFOs have 0-point energy, which means the ability to create energy from almost like nothing. That is the pot of gold for today. So there's consistently this seeing something, and it is just slightly beyond our technological capacity, and seemingly has what we want. It's very fascinating. Dokkaebi are interesting. So they are Korean goblins, and they're very muscular, and they like to wrestle. Some of them are one-legged. One only have one leg, but they still like to wrestle. They carry a stick, and they can cast spells or change things into other things with the stick. And they also can materialize gold as well, just like leprechauns and elves. And what I found interesting is reading the stories about these Dokkaebi is that when people encounter them in the folklore, that they see an orb of light come into the forest, and then the Dokkaebi appear, and they're shorter. They're really funny too. They joke a lot. Kind of like Peter Pan. Peter Pan is, I think, like a good example of a Dokkaebi, but from a different culture. Peter Pan likes to fly around and have fun and play jokes, and sometimes the jokes are kind of like messed up because he plays a joke on Captain Hook and causes Captain Hook amputates his hand and throws it to the crocodile. That's kind of a weird joke. But Dokkaebi and Elves play jokes like that. Well, the reason why I bring that up is I don't think that we're gonna get any help from these what people perceive as aliens, because I think that they are an extension of our consciousness. I think we somehow create them from our mind. Nonetheless, very interesting. There's a ton of talk in government about whistleblowers saying that there's alien craft recovered in bodies and all this stuff, Yeah, I don't know what to believe, because it just seems like they keep putting out information that tantalizes the public about the possibility of this, but then they never deliver. I call it Operation Blue Balls, because they just get you excited enough and never deliver. So I'm not going to hold my breath for that. Well, that was the alien part. Interdimensional beings consciousness part. Project 2025. Well, let's see if I can make some kind of segue into that. Well, if aliens aren't going to help us get out of this problem, are we going to help ourselves get out of this problem? I don't think so. I was reading Project 2025, which is written by the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank that helps make a roadmap for the incoming president and their administration. And they've been around for a while. They wrote the roadmap for Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan pursued a lot of their policies. And Trump did in his last term. And while Trump denied that he even knew anything about Project 2025, which is it's like a 900-page document about the plan if Trump wins, which he did. And he denied that he knew anything about this. But he's appointing a lot of people that wrote these long chapters in Project 2025 to his cabinet. So he clearly knows about it. And last time he was president, he enacted a lot of what they were talking about. And so I was just curious, like, what? What do they want to do? So I read it, and I didn't read 950 pages, because that's just really long. But I read the beginning part, where they're talking about their promises of what they want to accomplish. And I highly recommend Americans to read that, to understand where this country is headed. I don't want to get political, but I do want to say that a couple things that stood out to me. I'm literally just recounting what the document says. Document says that, well, first they want to cut taxes on corporations even more than they did on Trump's last term. And then they want to change the tax structure for everyone else to 15 to 30%, which would... The net effect of this is to increase wealth inequality. So I think wealth inequality is a problem in our society. It makes things unequal, and it's going to make it worse. A couple other things that stood out to me was attacking media. Now, media has been a problem. I mean, it's kind of a mouthpiece for propaganda. But there is something to be said about freedom of speech. And if you attack the media companies, and not just any media companies, certain media companies, then you stifle certain kinds of speech. So Now that's the First Amendment of the Constitution. And then they were talking about instilling Christianity back into the government. And that's also talked about by the First Amendment, the Constitution, which is government shouldn't make laws for or against religion. There's a separation of state and church and religion. That's First Amendment, Constitution. But this document wants to go in a different direction. So I guess that's where we're headed. I don't know. So things are changing. Oh, and the other part was using the Department of Justice to prosecute anti-white racism. Now, if somebody says we need to prosecute racism, that means prosecuting discrimination of people based on what color their skin is or how they look or what culture they come from. Now that's a good thing. But if you say, we want to prosecute racism that's only directed to a particular group, but we're going to let racism towards other groups slide because that's just not important to us. Well, that is perpetuating the problem. That's dividing people, just like increasing wealth inequality is dividing people. So what I found reading that document is that we are headed to a time of a more authoritarian time. That's what they want. That's what they want. And a time of dividing people even more than we are divided. And so don't take my word for it. Go read the document yourself. I think that there's already way too much division amongst people, and that we need to find common ground and come together to work together. Because the direction we're all headed, which is separating people and making people hate each other, is obviously not working. So I hope that people can find empathy for each other, try to understand where each other are coming from, try to understand that we're all trying to survive and live in the same country, in the same planet, with the same environment and animals and sky and water and yeah. Sometimes I wonder, and I didn't even talk about the environmental things. They want to dismantle Environmental Protection Agency, which arguably I don't think has been protecting the environment because obviously the trees are being cut down and water polluted, but yeah, it's almost like people. It's almost like people know how. The people who are in charge know how bad things are. You know, like going back to the Pentagon knows how bad things are. They're making contingency plans. But it's almost like people in charge know how bad things are. They want to somehow accelerate what's happening, and like, I don't know what the end game is. Like, do they just want to get richer off of this? Or maybe it's because They know that if we don't accelerate extraction of fossil fuels, and then the whole system comes crashing down on everyone's head. That's probably the more logical answer to that question in my mind, is that they know that this civilization problem is unsustainable and very unstable, and unless we go find more fossil fuels quickly, the whole thing comes crashing down. The whole house of cards comes crashing down. And in the meantime, they can get rich off of accelerating the extraction of fossil fuels. That's, I think, probably the most likely thing. How much farther can we kick the can down the road? I think that's what they're doing. And in the meantime, make things more authoritarian so that in case things go belly up, well, people in power have more power over people. Make people do what they don't want to do. That's probably my guess about what's happening. Well, I'm not in power. I'm just a person. I'm just a person who exited the workforce over a year ago, and I don't have to re-enter it for at least a year or two. You know, I kind of am still in the workforce through YouTube, so somewhat. But yeah, I'm just a person. You know, I'm not in a position of political power. Nor do I want to be. I don't want to be. I'm just trying to make sense of what's happening in my life, in the country I live in the community I live in, and the environment I live in. Just trying to make sense of it. I made a whole list of things that I wanted as goals for the YouTube channel, but also as for my life. But one of them was, at the very bottom, I said, finding joy and true hope. So we're going to talk about the true hope part, and then the joy, because that's going to bring me to the book of wisdom that I obtained. True hope. Well, hope to me is what keeps me alive. What keeps me going every moment. If I feel like if I lose hope completely, then I will die. Either by my own hand or my body will just shut down. So hope to me is what keeps me going, and I could place hope in something that would fail, and then I would lose that hope, and then I could potentially give up on life. For instance, if I placed hope in the fact that our government will protect us from this problem, that probably would fail. If I place my hope in the fact that we will find an endless supply of fossil fuel energy, well, that's definitely going to fail because it's a finite resource. If I place my hope in the fact that aliens would give us 0-point energy, well, I'm pretty sure that that's going to fail because I don't think aliens actually have 0-point energy. And I don't think aliens are what we think they are. I don't think they're intergalactic travelers. And even if they were, why would they give it to us if they had it? So, placing hope in that, It's not a good idea. So I've been thinking about what actually keeps me going. What gets me out of bed. I like learning things. I learn new things every day. I learn every moment. I'm learning new things. One of my friends' partners says that the day you stop learning is the day you die, and I think that's true. So I am hopeful that I will continue to learn new things. I think that's a very reasonable thing to hope for. And I can keep learning new things despite maybe quality of life getting worse. I think quality of life now is worse than it was when I was growing up in the 90s or even the 2000s. Like I was gonna go visit my brother and my niece and nephew for the holidays, but the airplane tickets are just very expensive, and air travel is stressful, and I do want to see my family, but I don't want to travel over the holidays. Well, I'll see them at some point. Yeah, I can't place hope in. I can't hope that the quality of life will get better, because I don't think it will be. I think it's getting worse. And the trajectory certainly seems to be getting worse. Things are super expensive. Rent keeps going up. Oh yeah, I couldn't hope that my rent will go down. Rent always goes up. Prices always go up. One thing that does keep me going is that I get to spend time with people I care about and myself. Well, that's one thing that I can hope for, because as long as I'm alive, I can spend time with myself, like this body, until the moment I die. Even if I'm in prison, which hopefully I'll never be in prison, knock on wood. I'd still be able to be with myself, but I also like to be with my doggy and my wife. But they could die, or we could be separated. So that's something that's a little fraught for hope. But yeah, maybe I shouldn't place hope too much on those things. Finding joy. I think I could find joy even if I was in a prison. So maybe. And I've been finding joy lately by playing music, learning music, practicing, singing, and this book of wisdom, the last topic. So I've been finding hope in those ways. But this is the book that I'm talking about. It's actually a collection of 4 books. I got this. The Calvin and Hobbes Complete Collection. The Complete Calvin and Hobbes, Book 1 through 4 by Bill Watterson. So if you're not from America, maybe you don't know this comic, but this comic is what I grew up reading. There's Calvin. He's a 6-year-old with an imaginative mind, questions everything, and finds joy in playing and imagining. That's his friend, Hobbes, who's a tiger. Hobbes is actually a stuffed animal, but in Calvin's imagination, Hobbes is a real person. They love spending time outside. So I find a lot of myself in Calvin and Calvin's questioning and anti-authoritarian imaginative adventures, and spending time outside with their animal friend, which is like me and Doobie and Doobie. They spend a lot of time outside, and they like to dance and have fun and make music. So I've been reading Calvin and Hobbes, and I find that it's very funny. It makes me laugh. And not only is it funny, but it brings up really important questions. So now I'll just show you some of this. Let's see here. All right. I already read that one. So let's see what Calvin has to say here. I've got a great idea for school tomorrow. I cut a ping pong ball in half and now I'm drawing dots on each end. I'll just put one over each eye and it will look like I'm really paying attention. Or will I look too interested? Wow, he looks very interested. And he says, I doubt it, I'm over here. Hobbes is funny. Calvin's funny too. I like his ideas. All right, let's see here. Bad news on your polls, Dad. You slipped another 2 notches. Things are looking grim for future office. Is that so? Any ideas on what would improve my standings? I need a VCR. Right, I'll keep that in mind. I hope you're reading the Help Wanted section. Look, I got a letter I'm supposed to copy and send to 20 people for good luck. It's a chain letter. It says, man in Denver made 20 copies and the next day he got a raise. A man in Seattle broke the chain and he went bald. Oh my gosh. Ha, you believe that? These letters are for superstitious nincompoops. Oh, that's a nice word, nincompoop. Throw it away. Calvin says, and a dumb kid like you listened to a friend and got run over by a cement mixer. That was in the letter. That's funny. All right, one more. I spelled B. How many points do I get? 2 points. 2 points? Oh, they must be playing Scrabble. My, this game does teach new words. That's funny. See, I spelled zygomorphic. What the heck is that word? On a triple word score box, that's 150 points. All I've got is consonants. Your turn. Well, if I use your letter I can spell in. That's 3 points. I pick out some new letters. With your N, I can spell nucleoplasm. Wow, that's a good one. That's 40 points. So all I've got is consonants. I'm not going to play this stupid game. I hate it. What a waste of time. What should we play instead? Let's play poker. At least with cards, you have half a chance. Okay, I bet a nickel. I'll see you and raise you $8. This is funny. I like oh, let's see here. This has an alien reference. Greetings, Earth female. Do not be alarmed. Our planet is dying. We need cookies to survive. Do not try to resist or you will be destroyed. We'll see about that. Get here. Oh, and a Ouija board. Ouija board knows all and tells all. What should we ask it? Let's ask it, which of us is smarter? Okay, go ahead. Oh, great Ouija board. Who is smarter, Calvin or Hobbes? Quit resisting, you. It's reading for the H. Ha, it's obviously trying to go to see, you cheater. Well, maybe other people don't find that funny, but I think I'm 6 years old inside, so I have fun reading Calvin Hobbes. He talks about all kinds of stuff. Well, I somehow talked about the three things I wanted to talk about, which were books, these books, Calvin Hobbes books, aliens, and Project 2025. I actually made 2 other videos, one yesterday and one the day before, trying to talk about these topics, but I couldn't quite put everything together. But I think I accomplished what I wanted to out of this talk. So I'm glad the third try, what's the phrase? Third time's a charm? Is that the phrase? I don't know. Well, third time seems to have worked. I don't think I said what I wanted to. Oh, I did want to say that one thing that I still think about is, what do you do if someone in your community wants to keep making other people hate each other and hurt each other, and keeps wanting to divide people? Like, what do you do? Like, imagine if you're in a small village and somebody in that village keeps making other people hate each other and divide people into people that just want to kill each other. What do you do in that situation? So I actually put that to you viewers. What do you do in that situation when you're living in a village and somebody in the village makes other people hate each other? Do you just keep listening to that person and follow their advice and what they want to accomplish and end up just killing off half the village? Or do you reject what that person is saying and find connection with your other village mates and friends and try to live together? I don't think you need to really even do anything towards that person who keeps trying to make other people hate each other. I think you just ignore them. You don't even have to do anything other than just ignore that person and have empathy for each other and try to make life as good as it possibly can. Not saying life is perfect, but I think life could be a lot better if we don't hate each other and want to kill each other. I think life would be a lot better if we could work together and ignore the people that want to make everybody hate each other. Just ignore them. Walk away. There's that Korean saying, if you see poop in the road, just walk around it, because no matter how well you try to interact with it, you'll get poop on you. Just walk away. I've learned that's probably the best way to deal with like hurtful people that I run into in my life. It's just to walk away. Well, I hope you have a good rest of the weekend.